What's up, my know-it-alls? Welcome to another Know-It-All Files. What is the Know-It-All Files? The Know-It-All Files is where Mr. Know-It-All brags and shows off how much he knows it all. No, but specifically, I go online to Quora, Reddit, check the comment sections here on YouTube, and I take the opportunity to answer the questions you have about your fandom. Star Trek, Star Wars, Deep Space Nine, Doctor Who, whatever it is. We talk about it. Now, I haven't done a Know-It-All Files about Star Wars yet because, frankly, I don't have enough questions about that. But if I were, I would totally do one. And I might get Mrs. Know-It-All involved. Anyway, so let's get into it. Computer, first question.
Why are the Klingons worthy of assimilation by the Borg, but the Kazon aren't?
That's a great question. Okay, so the Kazon are essentially, the Kazon is a, people might say, Klingon-esque species from the Gamma Quadrant. You saw them in Voyager. However, they are more like the Packlids in that they are a scavenger race. I don't believe they ever discovered or developed warp technology. I believe they stole it or bought it. A spacefaring species came by, met them, whatever else. They either hijacked them, negotiated with them, sold it to them, or they were killed and they stole it. Either way, they are not incredibly advanced. Remember, the Borg look for technological and biological distinctiveness. The Kazon aren't really either. They're not overly special physically, other than just the weird imposing head ridges and the bone structure. They're not incredibly intelligent because they steal other people's technology to use and kind of piece it together best they can. Klingons, on the other hand, are essentially, for lack of a better word, Klingons are Japanese-style samurai warriors of in space. Some people will be like, they're the barbarians of space. I think I might have even said it myself at one point. But the truth is, they're more like samurai, okay? You have houses and families and sects and the whole bit, and you have the guy who runs everything. But ultimately, when you're faced with when you're faced with the two as a comparison, there's no comparison. If I'm the Borg, I want the intelligence and the warrior spirit and the honor bound. I want what makes them unique. The Kazon don't have much that makes them unique. So there you go. Computer, next question.
What were the rest of the several hundred crew members doing in Star Trek during each adventure that involved only a few individuals, including dangers to the vessel itself?
Working. I don't know. I mean, literally on your average submarine has anywhere from 200 to 300 people on it doing exactly that, or even an aircraft carrier where there's thousands of people on it. There is tons of jobs. Sometimes it's just greasing that one thing, but at the end of the day, if you don't do that thing, it's a cascading effect of it's a cascade of effects down the line. So yeah, they were working. They were doing stuff. You have, not to mention the fact, you have to remember, each of these vessels is at its peak an exploratory vessel. That's their main thing, to boldly go, okay, and explore space, see things, whatever, where no man's gone before, the whole 9 yards. So there's all kinds of science experiments coming. People are writing reports for things, to say nothing of all. What we're seeing is just one side. It's the action side. That's all we're seeing. But there's a ton of other people out there, xenobiologists studying things, astrobiologists, and ton of them just doing stuff. And so there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of stuff on the ship. So what they're doing, surviving, I don't know, you go to battle stations, you hide. They also had families aboard at the time, so a lot of those, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, they're all working. When suddenly engineering starts to, when there's a coolant leak or whatever, and you see 40 people running out of the thing, what do you think they're all doing? They're all working on miles. It takes, especially if you have to fix something, and it's not something the computer can readily fix, and you got to go through. Who's taking that jaunt through, 100 miles of Jeffries tubes? You need at least 100 engineers running around doing all that stuff. So again, to keep a ship like that, to keep a ship like this going, you have to be ready to be like that. You have to be ready to be what they need you to be in terms of, surviving. So it's every ship has that many people and support because it needs it. So hopefully that answers your question. So let's computer. Next question.
Is there a difference in Star Trek between an alternate timeline, such as the Kelvin Timeline, and the mirror universe?
Yes. So, you have, timelines are exactly that. We exist in the here and now. If you go to the past or the future of the here and there's two schools of thought. Star Trek has predominantly shown two versions of this. First, you have Picard just did it. The fascist Nazi-esque existence and current today that Q showed them was a result of someone affecting a change to the timeline. Meaning this order of events, someone went back in time and altered these order of events. Now that has effectively changed and altered and created a alternate timeline.
Somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985. Alternate to you, me, and Einstein, but reality for everyone else.
Right, like my good friend Doc said. So what you get when you have now in the Kelvin timeline, by the way, because remember, all right, stay with me. The Kelvin timeline was created as a result of a Romulan mining vessel going back in time and affecting a change to the timeline. Guess what? That's the timeline Discovery exists in. Because Discovery Kovacs says as much in Discovery. Discovery's canon, so don't fight me on this. And it goes, whether you like it or not, I don't care. So as a result, Discovery is the result of someone changing and altering the timeline. You can be very much aware of this. Now, the mirror universe is multiverse theory. It's an actual universe where events spun out differently. Now that, literally, you have to go back to creation in order to find that path. People can change and alter that timeline within that timeline, but that has nothing to do with us. It runs in parallel. So parallel Earths, parallel universes, the multiverse, if you will, comes adjacent with us. Alternate timelines are changes within the timeline, if that makes sense. I hope that gives you a better idea. I love this kind of conversation because I'm a big fan of that. So there you go. Next question. Forgive me. Computer. Next question.
Why did Star Trek Beyond fail?
I don't know that it failed. I know that it didn't do as much money. It did more, so failed. Okay. So the Kelvin Timeline movies, the Bad Robot J.J. Abrams movies for Star Trek, were supposed to be a reinvigoration of the franchise in its cinematic form to create a cinematic version, a version that felt bigger, more whatever, just much better, if you will, bigger. Cinematic. Whereas the original motion pictures, and I love them, don't take anything I'm about to say as disrespect. The original motion pictures were essentially an extension of the original series. Now you come to, we want to take this and we want to roll it into something bigger. Now, mind you, there were also some other issues having to do with why they had to make such radical changes. Believe me, nobody wanted to do an alternate timeline. It was literally the stake of all of these contracts and how things were set up, and it had to do a lot with the CBS Viacom separation and then later remerger. Again, tons of stuff. So what ends up happening is that you get this movie and they decide we're going to make this movie much more in line with how Star Trek is. That's why you get a lot of more of the seek and find, and a lot of they have to do some actual detective style work and whatnot, hunting down some answers and things. You still got your fun. You got your rock solo where he's, blowing through these little drone things or whatever else and playing, the Beastie Boys and the whole bit. Whatever, man. It's fun. It was whatever. It was what it was. It was Fast and Furious in space. So I feel like that is the best answer that I can give at the moment. I hope that answers your question. So, computer, next question.
In TOS Bread and Circuses, why is sun being confused with sun? Is the universal translator broken?
Bro, what? That is such an asinine question. Now, mind you, I'm not going to judge you for saying it. I know that everyone's like, but you just did. No, listen, don't be like that. It feels snarky, okay? Now, I know it's just the computer's voice, but it feels, sorry. No, I don't really need you. But it feels snarky, okay? Was the universal translator not working? Don't be mean. No. Remember, this was a Roman civilization that had evolved. What else evolved around with Rome at the time? Christ, that kind of situation. And so, of course, what are you going to end up with? You end up with this very, very Judeo-Christian-esque, and even Uhura says, she even says that that was what they meant. That wasn't the universal translator breaking. That's what they meant. They got Rome and they got Christ. That's what they did. So it's trying to tell a deeper story, and I do not fault them in the least. So yeah, there you go. All right, computer, next question.
How could Troi be promoted to commander so easily? And why didn't LaForge and Data do the test in Star Trek?
Okay, that's a great question. So got a lot to unpack there. A couple of different pieces of that. First is in the Next Generation, I want to say it was season 7, episode 16, and I want to say the episode was either To Thine Own Self or something like that. It's like To Be True or something, To Thine Own Self. It's some variation on that play of the name. I think it's To Thine Own Self. She goes to her reunion and she realizes she hasn't made much of herself and wants to ultimately see where she can go. She's been sort of a counselor riding on that and whatnot, but what are her ambitions, true ambitions and goals? And she decides to finally explore those. That's why she takes on the blue uniform and begins actually, doing the stuff she's got to do. She wants a command shift and she gets it, okay? Geordi, I believe Geordi, because Geordi first started in Red. He was navigation. He was in command. I believe, and he was even given, if you remember, he was given the con at some point. So Geordi had, in order to be given the con, he would have had to gone through command training. Now, command training doesn't automatically make you a commander. Command training means you have the training to be in command. You know how to drive. You know how to handle the wheel if you're given the wheel, if you're given control, if you're given the big chair, you know how to sit in it and not look awkward. And so I believe Geordi had it, but then he decided to take a different path in his career. I also believe, because remember, at some point, Data's been given command. Data's also was given during, there was that major battle where you had to assign different ships and stuff, and Data was eventually given a ship. And I believe firmly that he 100% he's been given the same training. So that's a presumption on your part that they didn't also get it or didn't pursue it, but they were in different paths. She was at the height of her path already and had to find, how do you go further? The next logical step was, if you want another promotion, get command. You can't go to that final level without it. Both Data and Geordi could, when they earned it, go to that next level because they'd already had command training. It's officer training school, command training school. All right, so yeah, there you go. All right, computer. Oh, actually, you know what? No, computer, sorry, stand down. There you go. We're going to go ahead and continue this next time. So guys, I appreciate you. Listen, do me a favor, comment below. Let me know what you thought of the episode, as well as what you thought of the how I answer these questions. Hey, ask your own questions. I would love to have an entire episode of this, the Know-It-All Files, where I actually answer the questions you guys have. So personally. So right from the YouTube comment section. So all right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Never forget, everyone loves another.